everybody. Welcome to a Wednesday Huddle Show here on the PressProsMagazine.com network. Sonny Folks he was playing the music. I don't know what happened to his internet connection, but we're all good. We're looking forward to being welcoming Diana Kramer, the head volleyball coach at New Bremen. What's going on with your music there, Mr. Folks?
It's good on this end. It's good on this end.
Not too good on this end. Sorry about it. Maybe I have too many web pages open. I don't know. But we're happy to have all of you with us who are watching on the web, on Twitter, on Facebook. Coach Kramer will join us very shortly. She and her New Bremen Cardinals are undefeated, ranked number 1 in Division 4. And we have a lot of teams in the Press Pros coverage area that are ranked high in the state polls. We'll be going through that, all the games of the week in high school football week 6, which is coming up. Sonny, can you believe we're halfway through the regular season? That went fast.
Actually, I never can believe how fast the football season goes because, seriously, just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about two-a-days. And, here we are where we are now. And it is amazing, that it goes by that quickly. And, what even more quick is coming up more quickly is the fact of the playoffs. Because if you think weeks 1 through 5 go fast, 6, 7, 8, and 9 fly by, and then then it becomes very interesting football, and it's going to be even more interesting this year. I've got a couple of letters here that I just got today from people questioning, some people who just found out, in fact, that the regions have been expanded to 16. And Jack from Springfield wrote and said, "What?" That's all. What? So, Jack, we'll all find out what here in about 6 weeks.
Yes, we will. We are presented, as we are every week, by our friends at visitcanton.com. They do a phenomenal job getting you ready for the state football playoff championship weekend. It is December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, right beside the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But there's a lot to do in Stark County besides visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But, hey, you got to do that while you're up there for state football championship weekend. Great restaurants, great hotels, other great entertainment options. You'll have some downtime. Make sure you get a hotel room right now. We know a lot of you are going. Marion Local ranked number 1 in Division 7. Coldwater ranked number 1 in Division 6. We've got Piqua ranked very high in Division 2. We've got some Central Ohio teams that are in the top 10 in Division 1. And Versailles looking good in Division 5. We'll talk about the Tigers and their game coming up this week against New Bremen. So a lot of reasons to click on that Visit Canton logo that you see in virtually every high school story done on PressProsMagazine.com. We appreciate our partnership with VisitCanton.com, the Stark County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they're ready for you. Just make sure you have your reservations, and you can click right there at VisitCanton.com.
Just talking to somebody this morning about the prospects of how many teams, area teams, could be in the state Final 2. And legitimately, I guess, if you look at Milton Union in Division 4, they're a player. Division 5, certainly Versailles gives every indication of it being a competitive team through that 5-week run through the state semifinal process to get there. We talk about Marion Local all the time. We talk about Coldwater all the time. So there's 4 teams right there for the 7 divisions covered right here in the Miami Valley. You talk about Piqua. Piqua's got a little bit rougher route to get there because they typically have to go through the Cincinnati teams to get there. They got knocked out by Anderson last year. But, Piqua is in football, if you've got speed and you've got some skill and some experience and you're well coached, anything can happen. And so we would expect that to be the case for Piqua this year.
Yeah, and in Division 2 also out of Central Ohio, we've got some outstanding teams that have a chance to get there. Big Walnut. I think a lot of people wondered about Big Walnut on Friday night when they were taking on Westerville South. Westerville South is a team that, because they have Caden Saunders, a Penn State recruit, we thought Westerville South would be a team that would pretty much take care of Big Walnut. They hadn't beaten anybody really of note, but instead Big Walnut controlled that game, and they've got quite a program going on up there at Big Walnut, just a little bit north in Delaware County. They're a factor in Division 2. I wouldn't count out Westerville South. I wouldn't count out Olentangy Berlin. The Bears have lost once. And obviously in Division 1, Marysville right now is the highest ranked team in D1 out of Central Ohio. But we also have, we've got Hilliard Darby that got upset on Friday night. And we have the other team in Central Ohio. Upper Arlington. I can't leave the Golden Bears out. They are undefeated. We had a letter about the Golden Bears last week. And we may see the Golden Bears play, if not this coming week, then certainly next week. So D1, D2, strong in Central Ohio. The rest of the divisions with ample candidates, as Sonny said, to join us, because we're definitely going to be there at state championship football weekend in Canton. Now, Mr. Folks.
Well, apparently we have the worst internet connection of all time tonight. So you'll have to stay with us here and go on, enjoy the ride as we are doing. It's a tough night weather-wise. I don't know if that has anything to do with Wi-Fi and the internet connection or not, but it is pouring in West Central Ohio everywhere tonight. So a lot of rain, a lot of wind, a lot of going on tonight.
All right. So do you with your internet have a tougher night than Ohio State defensive coordinator Kerry Combs? He did not get a pay cut, but he definitely got a prestige cut. He is the defensive coordinator of the Buckeyes, but he is no longer the defensive play caller. They took that away from him and gave it to Matt Barnes. I'm stunned they did that. I'm shocked they were as open about doing it. Would you expect Kerry Combs to still be an Ohio State Buckeye assistant coach next year?
It depends on Kerry Combs.
Yeah.
It depends on him. And people being what they are, egos and pride and things like that. I'm sure that his services are in demand at other places. He won't be out of work. Whether or not he works wearing red and gray, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting move. It didn't surprise me because, again, they're desperate for success there. Regardless of the cards they have in their hand, it doesn't matter. The expectation, and I heard this on the sideline Saturday, the expectation of the 76,000 people that were there or the 74,000 people were there, it doesn't matter. You should beat this team and handily. It shouldn't be 13-6 at halftime. It shouldn't be 20-17 in the fourth quarter. This is unacceptable. And, as long as people have that attitude in 88 counties in Ohio, then anybody who coaches at Ohio State, like I wrote about Tom Lemming this week, they expect you to be perfect on day one and get better thereafter every day. So it all depends on Kerry Combs and how much that particular job means to him.
Yeah, I thought when he came back to Ohio State, he was coming back to get the coordinator title, to position himself to become a head coach, maybe to succeed Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. I think having the defensive play calling duties taken away from him does not help him in that regard. I think he could probably become a head coach in the MAC if he wanted to be. He can always work for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee if he wants to. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll keep our eye on it. And we also are keeping our eye on, speaking of teams that we think have a good chance to win the state championship, besides football, we have the New Bremen Cardinals in volleyball, and we have their head coach, Diana Kramer, joining us tonight. Diana was on camera. Now there she is. She's popping back on. Sonny, you got a look at the Cardinals the other night. Let's welcome Coach Kramer to the show. Diana, good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Nice to have you with us. Congratulations on your win over Coldwater.
Thank you. It was an exciting win, that's for sure.
One thing that struck me about that particular game last night was I'm sure your kids knew what the stakes were. I mean, that's the number 2 ranked team in Division III in the state of Ohio. Very familiar opponent because you play them every year. I think there was a lot of expectation, a lot of anticipation about that game last night. And, yeah, your kids came out as cool as the other side of the pillow. That really impressed me, that nobody showed any nerves. You and I talk about nerves all the time.
Right.
Nobody showed any nerves. Nobody was, particularly out of their head as they started. I mean, you got off to a slow start, but caught up very quickly. Your kids were impressive.
Right. I think I was probably the most nervous person in the gym last night, just because I always am. But the girls are ready to play. We practice hard. We prepare. And we were ready to go. We know that Coldwater was a really good team. Our schedule's loaded with really good teams, and we have a lot of respect for everyone that we play. But, we're confident in what we do and who we are. And we have a plan, and, we're just trying to execute that plan at all levels. Our JV team did a really nice job yesterday. Our junior high programs, they both won yesterday. So I feel like our program's just rolling, and people have bought into our system, and they know what the expectations are, and we just expect to win.
One thing I'll bring up again about Coldwater. Now, a lot of people who had not seen them play previously might not have appreciated this fact. I saw them play St. Henry last week, which is another fine, your old alma mater.
Right.
Another fine program, Patricia Rosenbeck. And, I mean, they left no question on that particular night who the best team in the gym was. They weren't able to do that last night against your team.
Right. I think that Coldwater looked really, really good last night. And anybody that knows volleyball knows how good Coldwater is, knows how good St. Henry is. And, it was just us coming down and executing a point here or there, or, staying calm, cool, and collective, playing with your teammates, playing with the girls that you love, and just finding a way to get the job done.
Diana, I don't know if you're getting as much entertainment as I am out of that French bulldog behind Sonny that's digging around on his head or whatever that is behind him, but he's trying to photobomb on his own show.
Right.
I'm curious. You and I have talked a little bit about leadership, and there are coaches that have a bunch of different approaches to goal setting. Some coaches set a goal of, we want to win the league, we want to win the state, whatever. Some coaches' goals are more intangible. It's about personal growth and stuff like that. Are you a coach who talks with your team about goal setting, and do you do it in terms of a tangible achievement for the team, or do you do it more individually?
That's a great question. And there's a lot of questions in there. So I believe that you have to dream big, and we talk about that every single day in practice. But while we set lofty goals and we dream really big, I think that you have to win the moment, and you have to win each day, and you have to live in the moment, because if you're not, you're never going to reach your ultimate goal. So I think we do a little bit of both. I think that you prepare and you expect those kind of things in the future, but the only way you accomplish those is if you live in the moment and you try to be the best that you can be every single day.
So when you're living in the moment, do you ever go back in time? I know you made it to the Final Four last year. I know you wanted to win the state. You've won some state championships there. In terms of that living in the moment thing, is what's happened in the past gone, never go back, never revisit it? Or does it have some utility for you as a coach in leading your team now?
Absolutely not. I think that everything that's happened in your past has shaped you into who you are, whether it's, me personally as a coach, or my team, or my town, or, just anybody in general. I think that everything that has happened becomes, great memories, and you can build on those memories. So, a lot of people don't like to focus on the past because it's in the past, and we don't necessarily talk about specifics. But those memories and those feelings are very real, and those are things that you never forget, and those are things that girls want to experience, that they, know how special they are, so they're fighting for those things. But I think that you don't want to erase your past, because you learn from it and you grow from it. So, everything that has happened, I think, makes you the person that you are, makes you the team that you are, the program that you are. So, we talk about those things. It doesn't help us win any games in the future, or, in the current moment, but, we're proud of those things. Every team should be proud of the things that they have accomplished in the past.
Diana Kramer, the head coach of the volleyball Cardinals at New Bremen, our guest tonight on the Huddle Show. And I want to ask you something that you and I have talked about many, many times, and you do a particularly good job of addressing the fact of the popularity of volleyball now and how rapidly it's growing. We have it on our front page this afternoon for the feature this evening. And what you've said about, particularly in New Bremen, why 5th and 6th grade girls look up to your kids in high school and want to emulate that behavior, want to be a part of that atmosphere and that environment. Tell me a little bit about how this has come along. It's been a long, long time since 1972 in Title IX. And in fact, I asked a girl about it the other day, and she said, I never heard of Title IX. I just like to play volleyball.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's important to know that volleyball is the fastest growing sport, not only in the state or in our area, but in the nation. At the collegiate level, they just created beach volleyball, and there are girls that go to college just to play beach volleyball. The Olympics, the U.S. won the beach gold, and they won the indoor gold. So I think that everybody's seeing the level and the athleticism that girls have nowadays and can play at that level. And, while, you're dreaming of being an Olympian, my oldest daughter thinks that I should still try out for the Olympic team, and maybe I can make it. But and I unfortunately had to break the news to her that mom was never going to be an Olympian. But I think it's really, really cool that, every girl's competing and they're giving that opportunity. And what makes New Bremen volleyball so special, and actually everything about New Bremen, is the high school kids. We're all on the same campus now. We have a beautiful school. The teachers are great. The coaches are great. The administration's great. And, my girls and my team comes down to my classroom and they help. So they're visible. They're seen. They give high fives to the little girls. They help out with the youth camp. At the game last night, you probably saw the 15 managers that I had, and there were plenty of other little girls in the stands, and they're just dreaming big. One of the cool things is I teach second grade, and I had a little girl write in her journal that she wanted to win a state championship when she got to high school, and she was on, Coach Kramer's team. If I make it that long, we'll see. But it's really cool to see that, they want to be like those girls. They're great role models, and I think that that's the key. Nobody's better than anybody else, and they bought into the family, whether they're a senior in high school or a kindergartner walking down the hall.
An interesting question I have, and I've never asked you this, but I've known you for 4 or 5 years now, and I think we've gotten to know each other and have a pretty good relationship. And I can't imagine you not coaching or teaching. I can't imagine you without that interaction of being able to share what you know and what you love with kids coming through school. What have you ever thought about what you would be if you weren't a coach or weren't a classroom teacher?
I've always wanted to be a coach and be in education. I love kids, and I feel like that's why God put me on this earth, to help make a difference in the lives of, the future generations. I do aspire to be an administrator someday. I have my administrative license and can be a principal in the elementary building sometime. But right now I have 4 little kiddos at home and things are busy. I enjoy coaching. I enjoy teaching. And when you find a job that you love, you got to keep doing it. And I love what I do right now. I love the people that I work with. I love the students that I get to teach. I love the relationships that I built with my team, with the community. So I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. But I also put in so much time and effort that it gets harder as my kids get older, because I'm missing soccer games and I miss this game. My baby sits on my lap sometimes during the JV games and she takes a nap. And it's hard at times, but they also love mommy being a coach, and they love building those relationships too, because they're almost like older sisters for my daughters, and my son loves it too. So I love what I do. I love hopefully making a difference in their lives, and teaching them that whatever you dream to do, you can become if you're confident in who you are. So I hope I'm making a difference, and as long as I feel like I'm making a difference, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Diana, would you mind sharing a little bit about how you balance responsibilities at home and make time for everybody? Because we have 3. It's been a while since they've been little. I wouldn't classify them as little. You said little kiddos, so that's a team sport too, like balancing the home life with the work life.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're being pulled in so many different directions. My mom always tells me that I'm more than enough, and sometimes I need to hear that, just because you feel like you're not, being a good enough teacher, you're not being a good enough coach, or you're not being a good enough mom. But, I think it's a good reminder that you are enough. And, you just got to tell the people that you love them every single day, and show up with a smile on your face. Not every day can be your best day, but you can try to make the best out of every moment and opportunity you get every day. And, you just got to keep being a good example. And, there's 24 hours in every day. What you do with those hours and minutes is your choice and your decision. So I try to not make any excuses about, I don't have time to do something, because if it's important, you got to find time to do it. So, during volleyball season, I probably sleep a little less, but I try to balance it as best as I can. Sometimes I don't know if I'm doing a good enough job, but like I said, I'm just doing the best I can. And the support system is incredibly important to allowing you to be the best you can in every aspect of your life.
You've been down this road before of a team gelling, getting better, improving as the season goes along, and you probably have a pretty keen sense of how good you need to be at the end of the year to get where you want to get. What do you like about your team right now? What would you maybe like to see grow for you in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things this year that we have going for us is, I just feel like everybody cares so much about everybody. We've been through a lot as a team, off the court this season, and it's really made us become closer. One of the things that I think we need to improve upon is just our ability to be confident and a little more consistent in some of the areas. Volleyball is a game of mistakes, and mistakes are going to happen. But last night, I think that we proved that even when, it's 24-23, we're going to remain who we are. We're going to stick to our game plan, and we're going to find a way to get the job done. But, I like where we are right now. Do we have to get better? Absolutely. But the girls know that. And like I said, they work hard every single day, and they're pushing each other. And I don't know if we've had the same lineup at any point this season, just because there were some injuries, people were missing. So it's really fun to see because there's competition and girls are competing for spots. And what makes this team so special is the fact that even though there's competition, they're there supporting each other and wanting each other to be the best that they can be. And when the people that are competing for positions are also supporting each other, that's the key balance to making a team go from good to great. So I'm hopeful that season continues to go well. I know that our schedule is incredibly loaded with very talented teams that are well coached. But we're gonna be us and play New Bremen Cardinal volleyball.
I know you got lots to do tonight. You got 4 to get to bed and get washed up and scrub behind the ears. I don't want to take too much of your time here, but I'm always amazed at what a privilege it is to get down and sit down and just share some thoughts and some conversation with you. And I really appreciate, I contacted you at school today and said, hey, could you come on tonight and spend a few minutes with us and share some of your views about what you do and how you do it with the people out there in Press Pros land. And I want to thank you again and certainly appreciate your time.
Well, I just appreciate you guys, giving us coverage and supporting New Bremen and the area and volleyball as a sport in general, because it's really cool thing to see. And high school kids are role models for so many. So it's neat to see them get the recognition that they deserve.
Well, thank you, Diana. We wish you well the rest of the season. We'll look forward to running into you later on down the road and hopefully have you back on the show at some point, maybe celebrating another state championship.
That would be wonderful.
All right. Have a great night.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Diana Kramer, the head volleyball coach at New Bremen. They are rolling 12-0 and a tough win over Coldwater the other night. So good luck to them. And really neat, transformative person in a lot of kids' lives. That's fun to see.
And I couldn't be more serious when I talked to her about her kids and just how cool they were last night. Now, kids, are 14, 15, 16 years old. Don't tell me that they don't get out there and they're not afraid. They're not nervous. They're not, up in a bit a little bit about you look over at a team that is obviously bigger, physically bigger as Coldwater is. And they've got a Riley Ritzmeller on the front line who's 6'4" and a very talented athlete. And, sometimes you look at the size of the dog in the fight rather than consider your own size of the fight in yourself. And it's amazing how you prepare young people for competition to believe in, like Diana always says, just do what we do best. Serve aggressively, serve, receive, play aggressively, play to win, and give it your best shot and take your chances. It's not guaranteed, so just go out and lay it out on the line. And that's what they did last night. And they've been successful with it because they've been in the state finals 4 years in a row, won it twice, finished runner-up twice. It's hard to do better than that without winning them all.
It is. And the praise for Coach Kramer is coming in on Facebook. Mike says, we love you here in New Bremen, Diana. And Mark says, great job, Diana. So, yeah, absolutely right. She is very popular, and she's popular not just because she's a great coach, but the people there know what they have in her, and they have a lot of great coaches in New Bremen. Sonny, you and I talk all the time about how fortunate we are at PressProsMagazine.com to deal with a lot of great coaches. And the danger in naming one is starting to name a list is you'll forget one, and we certainly would never want to do that. But we're fortunate that we run into a lot of people who, they could get jobs in bigger cities, bigger markets, in college, whatever, but they've chosen to make a difference in people's lives, and they really enjoy what they do. You see that joy as it comes through, and that passion that they have is certainly true of Diana Kramer. It's true of a lot of the coaches that we cover and rely upon for the coverage that we provide.
Well, and it is. And to people like Mark Suchland, I will add this. We got a letter this afternoon from somebody, or an email this afternoon. He says, the nice thing about reading your coverage of the MAC and Shelby County leagues and the schools of which we cover is, he said, winning is still important in those schools. It still matters. And he said, I grew up playing, and winning is a great thing because you earned it. And it sets you up. It's such a valuable lesson and a commodity in life to go out with, is the fact that nothing comes easy that's worthwhile. And I think all these coaches that you talked about and the ones that we cover in these schools and these communities and these leagues, winning, no one is ashamed of winning anymore. It's not one of those things where you bow your head and say, gosh, I'm sorry I beat you. But I know it. I should have finished second myself and helped you across the line, or done something like magnanimous like that, instead of going out and competing to do what I've trained to do. No, there's valuable lessons in winning that you carry through life. It's how you get the job you want. It's how you get the career, the spouse that you want, the education, the school. Everything in life that's worthwhile is predicated on winning. And I appreciate that letter. And, Mark, I think that the people that we cover on a regular basis, and Diana Kramer, there is no better human being I've ever met than Diana Kramer or Chris Schmidt or Chip Otten or people like that. But the fact of the matter is, they instill that value in their young people, that it's okay to go out and play your hardest, compete your best, and take your chances on winning. If you don't, then you come back and prepare. You get up and you come back and prepare to play again. But those are the kind of people we deal with, and we are lucky, as you say, Bruce, to be able to have those relationships.
Yeah, and I know that one of the things that all of those coaches, and we could add more and more and more. Ryan Jones, Spencer Wells, Tim Goodwin, on and on and on and on.
List them all.
They stress the fact that you have to do the work. You have to do the work. Championships are won out of season, and those coaches stress that. And the work ethic that goes into winning is essential, and we see that show up. So very fortunate to have those coaches. We are accustomed to having football on PressProsMagazine.com on Saturday morning, late Friday night. We'll have it late Thursday night and Friday, as we have two games in the area. On Thursday, we have Xenia at Tip tomorrow night, and we have Sydney at Troy. So we'll staff both of those games. Look for those late Thursday night into Friday morning and all day Friday, along with our picks column that Sonny will be writing the Western Ohio, MAC, and some of the MVL games and games of that order. And I'll be writing the Central Ohio picks column coming up on Thursday night. So a lot on the site to come. Mark Snyder's covering Ohio State. The Buckeyes play Akron on Saturday night. That'll be a walkover. The only question I have about that game, Sonny, is will the attendance be closer to 100,000, which is the norm, or closer to 76,000, which was the outlier attendance number last week?
Well, they're dealing with a couple of factors there. One, people are a little bit shell-shocked, I think, at how lackluster this team has played. I'm not particularly disappointed in them, given the fact that they're 2-1. They've got so many young people playing. They're really banged up. If you know their roster well, you realize that they're playing in many cases with one hand tied behind their back. But there's other factors at hand. The COVID thing doesn't go away. The other thing is the new electronic ticketing procedure, where you have to take your smartphone and they scan that as you go into the stadium. And 2 weeks ago, the scanner wasn't, the Wi-Fi speed wasn't, the broadband wasn't good enough, and you had big lines of people waiting outside, and they're mad in 190-degree heat. And I think there's a lot of people maybe that are just saying maybe it's just better off to sit at home in the comfort in the evening in your living room and watch the game than go watch the game. I think they have scared some people off with the electronic ticketing idea. I don't know what you think about it. You're more savvy than I am with electronics and social media.
Well, I think you don't want to make your consumer experience difficult at a time when your product is not what everybody wants. Right now, the football product is not what everybody wants. And so the price of your ticket is something that people are starting to evaluate. Back when they were pretty sure you'd win every game and win it handily, I don't think they looked at as much at whether I'm getting a value out of my ticket price. The convenience of getting into the stadium, getting into the parking lot, the amount of money you're spending on concessions. Maybe people are nervous about inflation. Maybe people are starting to wonder about the economy a little bit. So all of that, I think, has a hand in it. If you want to say, what is it? I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I'm curious, Saturday night, a night game has always been an event in Ohio Stadium. There's usually only one a year. So does the fact that it's a night game draw people to Ohio Stadium? Or this is unquestionably the worst team they've ever played on a Saturday night. Do people say, well, I'm not giving up my Saturday night for a game that's probably going to be 50-0 at halftime against a team that's won like one of its last 20 games in Akron? I don't know the answer to that. I think, it's one of those things where after it happens, you'll say, okay, that made sense. It was a night game. A lot of people wanted to come out and have fun. Or, it was a night game, but it was Akron and nobody wanted to come and watch that. So I can't predict what we're going to see Saturday night in terms of attendance, but I do think it bears watching. And I know that they don't care if people buy tickets and don't come. They only care if people don't buy tickets and don't come, because the tickets you don't buy are tickets that don't fund their other, 30 sports, because only football and men's basketball make a profit at Ohio State.
I personally wonder if there is coming a day when people just say, like Roberto Duran, no mas.
Yeah.
With the price of tickets, $200 to see a football game live that you can sit at home and pay $89 a month for cable.
Yeah.
Something about that doesn't compute. And I know you push the envelope until you can't push it anymore. But I think that day has to be coming when people figure it out that, hey, look, if you're going to charge $200 for a ticket, it better be somebody better than Akron. If you're going to say it costs that much to play, to come and watch, then it's got to be Clemson and Alabama and Texas A&M or Southern Cal every week. Notre Dame, you line up the 12 best teams that you can bring in here, and if that's what we're headed toward, I'd like to know sooner rather than later, because I just think there's a lot of people out there who really feel when you're not getting a premium experience of watching competition. And I thought Oregon was. When you get teams like that and you're charging that kind of money, I think people's expectations change, and they change in a hurry. Now, they may not, if they're loyal Buckeyes and Buckeye Nation, they may not come out and tell you so to your face, because people are afraid to speak their mind about everything in this day and age. In fact, I got a letter here that I'll share before we get off tonight that we got this week over that very fact. But I just wonder if that day is not at hand, where people are just tacitly sitting at home and saying, if I'm going to pay that kind of money, I want to see better competition.
Well, this doesn't feel like it's forever to me, but it has been forever since Ohio State went back to playing in-state opponents, which is a factor of the 1990s. If you go back through, if you want to just have a little fun, go back through Ohio State's home schedule in the 1970s or the 1980s. And you'll find there are 3 non-conference games where we're going to be against Missouri, Washington State, Colorado, teams like that. Now you get these, and everybody does it. It's not just Ohio State. Everybody plays these games that you're not going to lose it in a million years. And you're asking your fans to pay a premium ticket price. And you're right. There are other entertainment options out there. And I think they have come perilously close to pricing themselves out of the market where a lot of people will be willing to pay that price to get in. We'll see. They got to win. I know that. And there'll be no problem winning on Saturday night against Akron, because Akron's terrible.
Well, I think a lot of people erroneously blame Ohio State for that. And you don't blame Ohio State. You blame the politicians, because they're the ones that said you have to redistribute the income among the other state schools around the state of Ohio. Everybody you need to chip in and give the OUs and the Cincinnatis and the Youngstown States and the people like that, an equal shot of playing and reaping some of that benefit, that financial benefit from being Ohio State University. You can't disagree with that. I mean, that's the whole premise of why they play Bowling Green and Toledo and those schools. You can't blame Ohio State.
I never understood that logic, and I never will understand that logic, because if Akron doesn't play Ohio State, Akron's going to play Auburn, and Auburn's going to pay them the same amount of money. So I've heard the keep the money in the state excuse forever and a day. Do we have some special currency here in the state of Ohio that's different than the currency in Alabama or Colorado or Texas? I don't think so. So I've always heard that excuse, keep the money in the state, keep the money in the state. Well, I got news for you. They're going to get paid the same to play Auburn or Bama or somebody like that they're going to get paid to play Ohio State. So that one never made sense. You're right. That's why they do it. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. All right. What do we have on the high school ranks? You are covering on Friday night. Do you have Versailles and New Bremen, or do you have Anna and Coldwater?
I've got New Bremen and Versailles, and then tomorrow night I'm going to see Tip against Xenia. And the reason I particularly am interested in those two games, I think there are two teams there, that being Tip City and New Bremen, that quietly are working their way into a very relevant position for the postseason. I think the Tip City team has been vastly overlooked. I know that Matt Burbacher told me during the summer, he said, we've got some warts, but he said, if you give us some time to work through some of the issues that we have, he said, we got some good kids. And he said, we think if we stay healthy, we're going to improve and we're going to be very competitive at the end of the season. At least we hope so. I know at New Bremen, tomorrow night's a huge test for them, a huge test for them. I was interested to watch them last week against Anna because I wanted to see just how good Anna was, 2-3-1 teams, because I think Nick Marino has done a wonderful job of coaching the Rockets. And, they didn't have a good night last Friday night. New Bremen came out and jumped on them right away. We're up 20-0 at the end of the first quarter, and they never recovered from that. But New Bremen Friday night is going to face a Versailles team that a lot of people think is a prohibitive Division V team in Southwest Ohio. Now, they got knocked off by one of the teams out of Cincinnati last year.
Roger Bacon.
Yeah. Roger Bacon, and that can happen. That can happen, but they were very competitive in that game, and they gave themselves a chance at the end. So can they take the next step? Well, that's their question. And the question I'm interested to see Friday night, from New Bremen, do they have yet another gear? Can they go over into a hostile environment like they'll see at Whole Field and Versailles and play the same as they did 2 weeks ago in a hostile environment against another superior team in Coldwater? They only got beat 28-14. If it wasn't for a penalty and a couple of bad plays in that game, they're right there at the end. So I'm very interested to see how Chris Schmidt has prepared his team to go in there and compete and just play like they play, because they have the dynamic quarterback in David Holman that they had last year in Mitchell Hayes. And that's a work in progress, and it's fun to watch those kind of works. They and Tip City tomorrow night.
Yeah, Versailles is getting votes in the D5 poll. They're not in the top 10, but they are getting votes. Coldwater leads in Division 4. They're ranked number 1. Fort Fry, a team you and I saw play St. Henry, is number 2 in Division 6. Mechanicsburg comes in at number 4. West Jefferson is number 8. And then you drop down to Division 7, and that's where you see Marion Local on top comfortably over Newark Catholic. New Bremen is ranked 6th, and Tri-Village continues to hang in there at number 10. They're hoping to get Lane Sarver back for the postseason, and if they do, they will be a load to handle because Lane Sarver can really sling that football around. I don't know if they'll play him at safety like they did last year, play him both ways, but Tri-Village will be a team that'll have to be, they'll be a lot tougher out if Lane Sarver is back throwing the football, which he has not been since week 1 against Troy Christian. The Eagles put the hurt on him and broke his collarbone, but they're hoping to get him back certainly for the end of football season. And I know Coach Sagaster is hoping that Lane Sarver is good to go for basketball season, because Tri-Village is hoping to do what they've done before, parlay a loss in a regional tournament into a state championship in basketball the following year.
Well, since you brought up the topic, I think it's testimony to just how good Tri-Village is, given the fact that they have not had Lane Sarver. They've only lost once, and they have beaten a couple of teams that went after them physically. I saw Ansonia play a couple of weeks ago, and before you turn your nose up at the idea of the old cross-county conference teams, Ansonia played a pretty good Arcanum team and got physical with them and stayed close for 3 quarters. So the fact that they go in last week against Tri-Village, and Tri-Village without Sarver, with Reed Ware and some other components around him, are still able to win. I think they only gave up 7 points last week. Their defense must obviously playing well. And those kind of teams where you can meet a physical challenge. Now, Arcanum we've talked about a lot this year, and they're going to have a physical challenge not tomorrow night, but the next 2 weeks when they have Tri-Village and Preble Shawnee back-to-back. Those are the 2 most physical teams in the WOAC. So, there's some interesting Friday nights coming up, and those teams like Tip, again, I'll mention them tomorrow night, and New Bremen on Friday night. Can they take the next step to prove themselves relevant come the 16-team region playoffs, the 1st of November? I still don't know how that's going to look. I just don't.
No, I don't either. In Central Ohio this coming weekend, we have some interesting games in the OCC. We have probably the best game in terms of rankings, Hilliard-Darby, which was ranked 6th and undefeated until last week when Gahanna-Lincoln came into Darby and really handled Darby pretty well. It did not really appear to be as close a game as the score indicated, 17-14. Lincoln had been off with COVID the previous week. They played very well. So Darby lost 1. They dropped out of the top 10. Upper Arlington is now 6th. Marysville is 5th. So Darby will be going to Marysville. Upper Arlington will be playing host to Hilliard-Bradley. And then the other game in the Columbus Catholic League, we have DeSales and Hartley, 2 teams that are not stellar in terms of their record. DeSales is hoping to get their best player back from an injury in time for the playoffs, but that is a battle every year, DeSales and Hartley. And Steve Blackledge, who is our genius hire in Central Ohio, Blackie will be covering that one for us. So we'll have Central Ohio covered this weekend, as we do now, as we've expanded into Central Ohio. So you Central Ohio readers are more than welcome to pen your own letter to the Reader Speaks, because we go through your letters every week here on the show. And Sonny, you had a couple pieces of correspondence that you wanted to share tonight before we end this show.
I have one in particular from a gentleman named Bill Goodall, who wrote to us this week. And this is not the entire letter, because I'd be reading here for 10 minutes to get through that. So this is, Bill, if you're watching, this is edited, and with apologies for that. But he writes, I want to thank you guys for an entertaining website. Although I know little or nothing about the schools you cover in Miami County and the surrounding areas and the schools in where you live. What I do want to commend you on is being honest about what you report on, especially, he writes, the need for kids and communities, Bruce, to play and live their lives during the COVID issue. I had never seen the photo, and you know what we're talking about.
Oh, boy, yeah.
I had never seen the photo of the governor that you published from last year's state football tournament. And I don't think many other people have seen that photo either. But people need to know about that, what it means, and the fact that there are those who still act on just good common sense. I'm glad those people are out there. I'm glad they're playing football and living their lives. And I'm glad that Press Pros Magazine was willing to tell that story. Bill Goodall, that's a wonderful letter, and I couldn't appreciate you more for writing it, because that's what we strive to do every day when we get up and get out of bed and go to work.
Yep. It absolutely is. And we are very appreciative of the coaches and schools and players that make time for us, make room for us on their sidelines, in their press boxes. We are very, very appreciative of the guys who do the fine work that you see on our pages. Julie Wright McMacken, of course, Brian Bayless and John Hulkenberg and Sonny and Mr. Greg Billing, and on and on and on and on. Steve Blackledge, I mentioned, Mark Snyder. We are blessed with good people on our staff and good people who welcome us where we go, and obviously good sponsors, or we could not do what we do. So if you're out and about and you see somebody who advertises on the pages of PressProsMagazine.com, please tell them you appreciate very much what they do enabling us to cover high school sports, college sports the way that we do. And in that vein, we want to thank, as we back on out of here tonight, our presenting sponsor, visitcanton.com. State Football Championship Weekend is a great way to see all the state titles awarded in Divisions 1 through 7. It's in Canton at a great stadium, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. Pro Football Hall of Fame will be open all weekend. Other great dining and lodging and entertainment options in Stark County. You can find out about all of them at visitcanton.com. Click on that logo that you see in our stories, visitcanton.com, to get ready for State Football Championship Weekend.
And, you mentioned Mark Snyder. Just aren't you appreciative of him that he's the one that's going to Rutgers next week?
I'm appreciative that he's the one going to Ohio State throughout the week and on the weekends. Yes, I'm very appreciative of Mark Snyder doing that.
That ain't like Rutgers, though.
Well, I've never been to Rutgers, and I'm hoping I can die saying that same thing.
There's a reason why they call it New Jersey.
There is. I don't know what happened to your sidekick there tonight, Sonny Boomer, but
she's passed out in her bed under my chair.
Out in her bed. All right. Well, Boomer's in bed.
She beat Truman to bed tonight. That's what happened.
Truman to bed tonight. We end the show every week by telling Truman it's time to go to bed. Truman is a French bulldog. Is that Laney's French bulldog?
That's Lane. It's my daughter Laney's French bulldog. The Boomer here takes residence here in McMacken Road.
Yeah, she beat Truman to bed tonight. So with that, remember, high school football on Friday night on the site, tomorrow night, Thursday night into Friday, also Friday night. Thanks, you guys, for watching the show. Thanks for watching it on the replay. Send us your letters, the reader speaks at pressprosmagazine.com, and everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you again soon.
Good night.